All righty, folks, welcome back. Happy Monday. Just one short week stands between us and the rebirth of a country, America. Finally, Crooked Joe will be very carefully escorted out the door, and Donald Trump's takeover can begin. This is all extremely exciting and could not come at a better time. There's just one major issue that we all have to overcome, and that would be those next 7 days. Everyone knows what's in store for this country. Unlike the Biden presidency, Trump 2.0 promises to deliver transparency and honesty. We've already seen this happen, which is exactly why we all know most of Trump's day one plans. Right off the bat, he's going to eliminate, via executive order, a lot of the crap Biden has thrown into this government, into our economy, into our lives over the last 4 years. Our incoming president could not be stronger than he is right now. He has spoken to the foreign counterparts. They're making their way to Mar-a-Lago as we speak. His plans are crystal clear and ready to be executed, and he's surrounded himself with a team of America First warriors who refuse to take no for an answer. Even Trump's biggest enemies are finally giving him flowers.
Donald Trump is at his absolute strongest right at this moment. Look at the fight that we were expecting, the House of Representatives, his pick, Speaker Mike Johnson, wasn't really a fight. Senate Republicans loving him right now. Most of his nominees are on track. You have corporate America bending the knee to Donald Trump. His legal problems seem to be over. This is peak Donald Trump right now.
For once, I could not agree more with something said on NBC. I got plenty more to discuss, so as always, let's react. So one of the very many reasons to be confident about Trump's second term is a guy named Tom Homan, the border czar. The old border czar and the new border czar. Americans are going to have to relearn how to use that term border czar, because for the last 4 years, this crucial title was abused and neglected by one of the most incompetent individuals in our nation's history, Alejandro Mayorkas. Homan replaces that man. Homan is a man with a plan. Many of them actually. His latest plan reveals something he and the Democrats know all about, a hotline. But it's a little bit different. Now, unlike the hotline that Governor Tim Walz implemented in Minnesota, you know, the one where, I don't know, your neighbors could call in and snitch on you for not social distancing or wearing a mask. Or how about the other hotline where if you're an illegal, you wanted to figure out how the hell you get into the country and get your stuff? Yeah. Biden's Homeland Security had a hotline, an app as an illegal you could press to find out how to get into the freaking country. Homan's hotline, however, will serve a really good and actual purpose.
We'll take steps to secure the border.
President-elect Trump's incoming border czar Tom Homan tells us mass deportation will include workplace roundups.
Deportation.
Are we talking around Inauguration Day, even on Inauguration Day?
I'm not going to forecast what we're doing and where we're doing it, but you can count on worksite enforcement coming back.
ICE agents have told us they prioritize arresting undocumented immigrants with criminal records. Critics have asked, what about undocumented family members?
Will there be collateral arrests?
Yes. It's not okay to be in this country illegally.
Homan's also working on creating a hotline where Americans can report undocumented immigrants who've committed a crime.
Now, that's what we're talking about. Let me tell you something. This is not a man to mess with. He is dead serious about every single word he says. I want to move on to our daily check-in on the corrupt mainstream media. Jen Psaki, Circle Back Psaki, sat down with some disgraced Canadian guy in a suit. This guy, who happens to be the, for the moment, prime minister, actually seems to think he outsmarted Trump.
I'm assuming he didn't bring up his intention to publicly say he was going to annex through economic means your country.
It actually sort of came up at one point, and then we started musing back and forth about this. And when I started to suggest, well, maybe there could be a trade for Vermont or California for certain parts, he immediately decided that it was not that funny anymore, and we moved on to a different conversation. So.
Yeah, you beat Trump somehow, but then you had to step down, right? You stepped down. Why? Right after going to Mar-a-Lago? Justin. Imagine being Justin Trudeau. one of the most despised people on a Joe Biden level in his own country, and just basically quit on all of his people, the Canadians, after destroying pretty much all societal norms. Yet somehow he still has the arrogance to act like some sort of genius on national television, our television, no less. How is this even possible? If I were Justin Trudeau right now, I don't know, I'd be afraid to show my face in public. With just 7 days left in the Biden presidency, I think we can all agree that old Joe's lame duck weeks have been nothing short of shameful and embarrassing. This period will one day be remembered for the most unethical amount of completely random pardons that the president, any president, has handed out like Halloween candy. And by the way, all the spending he's doing in Ukraine, in Africa, everywhere else. Remarkably, there are still a few notable political thugs who haven't received that clean slate from old Joe. One of them is one of these corrupt crybabies, Michael Cohen. And he's very publicly letting the world know where he stands on his omission from President Biden's reckless pardoning spree. Listen.
Regarding the pardon, yeah, I put in the application for a presidential pardon because I believe that Joe Biden has the same responsibility to me that he had to his own son. And I would expect that the same exact pardon that he gave his son has to go to me and to anybody else that's on that enemies list, whether they want it or not. Because I assure you, solitary confinement where I did 51 days sucks.
And I am struck by your comparing yourself and Hunter Biden. And I wonder if, well, I'm going to just tell you, Michael Cohen, we're on national TV, we have a conversation. I don't necessarily think that's your best way to go get a pardon. I mean, Hunter Biden is the president's last surviving son. But your other point, why I do think is a strong one.
I'm somebody's son also, by the way.
Agreed. You are somebody's son. But, I mean, to be very clear, you're not the president's son.
First of all, my ass, you're Trump's surviving son, Michael Cohen. I know you very well. I've known Michael Cohen for almost 30 years, 25 to 30 years, since before Celebrity Apprentice, since the Apprentice days. Michael Cohen worked for Trump forever, and then he turned on him, and then he threw him under the bus, and then he rolled the bus back and forward over Donald Trump. And now somehow you're going to call yourself the surviving son of Donald Trump or Joe Biden, even for that matter. Are you out of your freaking mind, Michael Cohen? Are you nuts? You deserve nothing. You don't deserve a pardon. Joe Biden is pardoning his son. Michael Cohen just got absolutely demolished on MSNBC. I'm all for this. In fact, I love when this happens. Yet there's plenty wrong with that host's reasoning. Michael Cohen can whine all he wants about being someone's son. Nobody gives a damn. That doesn't make him eligible for a presidential pardon. In fact, now, to be fair, the host argued that while Michael Cohen is someone's son, he's not the president's son. My take on this is that it's very simple. Hunter Biden, the actual son of the president, shouldn't have gotten a pardon because he is the president's actual son. There's no reason to pardon a son for that reason. That's not what pardons are for. MSNBC may never get things 100% right. I've already come to peace with that. Yet, if their gaffes produce clips of political scumbags like Michael Cohen getting wrecked, then I'm all for it. On another note, clearly the White House scriptwriters packed up and left a little bit early, about a week early. That's why we're hearing some absolutely ridiculous takes from the current president and those who surround him. A guy named Jake Sullivan, National Security Advisor, one of old Joe's major advisors, the guy who really effed up Afghanistan. Well, he's also on the crazy train. Listen to what this clown had to say on CNN.
As we come to the waning days of the Biden administration, where across the globe could you point and say the United States is safer because of what we did here?
Well, I'd start by saying our alliances are stronger than we found them 4 years ago. They're stronger than they've been in decades. NATO is more powerful, purposeful, and bigger. Our alliances in the Asia-Pacific are at all-time highs. And our adversaries and competitors are weaker across the board. Russia's weaker, Iran's weaker, China is weaker. And all the while, we kept America out of war. So I think the American people are safer, and the country is better off than we were 4 years ago.
It's insane. This guy is insane. Nothing he said is true. By no means are China, Russia, and Iran weaker than they were under Trump. China and Russia are now best friends, BFFs now, and they could easily ruin a pretty serious chunk of the globe together if they decided to do so. Plus, the Iranian threat, well, it's back and bigger than it ever was under Donald Trump. We've given them hundreds of billions of dollars under Barack Obama and Joe Biden, sending pallets of cash to Tehran. Joe Biden picked that idiotic idea up and sent them tens of billions more. Iran is stronger than they ever were under Donald Trump, but Trump's coming, so that's good. There's virtually no data to support a single word that Jake Sullivan somehow said with a straight face in that clip. The good news is people like Jake Sullivan will never be hired to do anything important ever again. Well, they may hire him to be some sort of liberal think tank visiting fellow at Media Matters or something like that. But we can be grateful that Jake will never be hired in another administration. We can be truly grateful for that. And in 2021, we talk about Goya all the time, our great sponsors here, not only because they're a great sponsor, it's just a great company. It's a great company led by great people, Bobby Nonway and such. 2021, Goya launched Goya Cares, a global initiative to protect children and educate children on mental health. Goya Cares is providing schools and community centers with a preventative education curriculum and a free assembly that includes the viewing of the movie Goya Cares Press Pause. Press Pause is intended to raise awareness regarding mental health issues, abuse and bullying among children, teens, and in our communities. Press Pause is an educational film following 15-year-old Sofia Rodriguez as she navigates adolescence, self-doubt, and an abusive relationship amid her parents' turbulent divorce set within the cultural context of her Hispanic family. The film explores her discomfort with unwanted attention from her uncle and the pressures of maintaining a facade of perfection in high school. It introduces the Press Pause campaign promoting kindness and advocacy, highlighted by Sophia leaving a note saying, "You matter," for a bullied peer. The film encourages open family communication about mental health and culminates in Sophia's transformative realization of her right to seek help through the power of empathy and small acts of kindness. Press Pause displays the importance of being proactive in supporting one's community and underscores the critical importance of self-advocacy. All righty, folks. Again, thank you to Goya. All right, folks, time for today's Truth Bomb. All right, Truth Bomb here, folks. Obviously, the nation is very focused on California right now. Maybe not our president, current president, or the state's, worthless governor, Gavin Newsom, but regular people like you and me, we certainly care about those folks being devastated in Southern California. While my heart is with these innocent Americans who aren't getting a damn thing from their elected leaders. In fact, it may be the opposite. They look the other way. That's why they're struggling. I do think it's important to uncover some of the headlines lost in this very top-heavy news cycle that don't have to do necessarily with the wildfires. With that said, did anyone catch Joe Biden's comments on the 2024 election? In case you missed it, take a listen to what this very, very confused old man had to say.
Mr. President, do you regret your decision to run for re-election? Do you think that made it easier for your predecessor to now become your successor?
I don't think so. I think I would have beaten Trump, could have beaten Trump, and I think that Kamala could have beaten Trump, would have beaten Trump.
All right, who's going to tell the old guy? Joey boy, you got wrecked by Trump in the debate. You couldn't have beaten Trump. That's why you were replaced. And let's call BS, right? All right, now, you didn't decide to step aside. Barack Obama told you to step aside, and you stepped aside. You were getting smoked. Trump was crushing you in the polls. That's why your corrupt party swept into your reelection campaign and threw you under the bus for donor dollars. Okay, for your airhead VP. Speaking of your airhead VP, she couldn't have beaten Trump either. My reasoning for this is ground speaking is unbelievable. The assumption is because she actually tried to beat Trump and failed miserably. She got smoked. She had one of the worst outings since, Ronald Reagan in 1980 beat Walter Mondale by 49 states to 1. I think this is the biggest lopsided victory in 50 years. What do you think of that? So your VP failed. You were about to fail. Barack Obama and the whole Democrat Party failed miserably. Put this guy out to pasture. He doesn't even know what he's talking about. 7 more days, folks. What the hell more damage could this guy do? Get Biden into some retirement home in Delaware with some ice cream. Pronto. Always pay close attention to how people behave during times of chaos and disaster. It tells you a lot about who a person really is, who people really are, particularly those who had a hand in it. That tells you just about everything you need to know about Southern California right now. It's unfortunate, tragic really, that it takes a disaster like this to realize all of these truths about Democrats. And yes, of course, I'm talking about the wildfires in California and the continued fallout. Everything you ever needed to know about what's going on and what's wrong with Biden and Obama's America has revealed itself in this tragedy. When Joe Biden chooses to shift focus to his great-grandchild when talking about people losing their homes, well, that's showing you exactly who he is. Demented, self-important, senile, useless piece of crap. In the middle of it all, the president with the lowest rating of all time tweets out lies about his garbage economy. And I'm quoting, maybe not right now or ever. I know, I'm quoting. He says he's leaving America with the greatest economy ever. That's what Joe Biden tweeted. We have that up on the screen in case you're listening on radio. Well, maybe not now or ever. And this is all very convenient, by the way, for Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, whose eye is clearly planted on the 2028 presidential election and nothing else. When Gavin lies right to the face of a petrified, a poor lady, a citizen, when he lies about the water issue, the lack of preparedness that we now see, that's showing you exactly who Gavin Newsom is. But the world is seeing a character study in narcissistic, sociopathic behavior. Gavin Newsom, new scum, as Trump would say, wants you to know that he's the victim in all this. He's upset. He's angry. He wants answers. His house isn't burning down. He'll be fine. But he wants you to think he's burdened by this. So as L.A. burns to the ground, he went on a lib podcast to do some brand PR management, crisis management.
I want to know the answers. So I'm the governor of California. I want to know the answer. I've got that question. I can't tell you about how many people, what happened. My own team saying what happened. And I want to get the answers. And I'll be candid with you, I wasn't getting straight answers.
Yeah.
I watched the press conference. I met with some of those leaders. We had my team start talking to local leaders saying what's going on. Our state.
And you weren't getting straight answers from
I was getting different answers. When you start getting different answers, then I'm not getting the actual story. And they're assessing it. And I get that as well. You have to have a little bit of grace, back to the point. We're in this emergency environment and everything else. So I just want to determine the facts. But no one has any patience anymore. In this weaponized, back to the grievance of Trump, everyone else, there's immediacy. And lies travel the proverbial world.
Patience. You're the freaking governor. The buck stops with you in the state. You're the CEO of the state. The buck stops with you. Instead of saying, I don't know, I'm not getting the right answers from these people. They're not jiving together. He's pointing the finger at people below him. That's not the buck stops here. That's not a man with character. That's not a politician you want to run the country. Say it. I'm going to fix this. This is something we didn't know was happening. We'll fix it. We're California. We're America. Gavin the victim. Deflection. Pure evil narcissism. That's showing you exactly who Gavin Newsom is. When D-list nobody actress Meghan Markle and her beta husband, Prince Harry, rush in for photo ops in the middle of a tragedy, that's showing you exactly who they are too. Everyone associated with this massive disaster, they're revealing themselves, and it's ugly. Let's get into it. Something struck me the other day. Everyone is in an uproar over actress Jamie Lee Curtis's ridiculous comment. Well, listen to this.
But the entire Pacific Palisades looks like, unfortunately, Gaza or one of these war-torn countries where awful things have happened. And there are fires now breaking out everywhere. So it feels totally bizarre to be talking about a movie.
Tone deaf, maybe ivory tower BS, leftist BS, sure. But, comparing L.A., who's still burning, to Gaza. I mean, don't forget, there's a big, huge difference here. She has a point, though. I'm going to help Jamie carry it downfield a little bit, so to speak. You know what? Let's go with that comment of hers, right? It looks like Gaza or another war-torn area is what she said. But you know what Gaza and California happen to have in common? The people governing them don't give a crap about their own people. They've got the money, they've got the power, and their own agenda, and that's the only thing that matters to them, the agenda and the control and the power. And the people who voted them in, well, they blindly put their faith in those people in government to do good for them, are actually the terrorists who only care about their own agenda and care little to nothing about the people who gave them that power. And how did those people gain that much power? Well, through organized propaganda. And once they're there, they make it very clear. They don't care. Rubble, poverty, fire, doesn't concern them, not in the least. And what's worse, those suffering people are left powerless in the wake of it all. If they really cared, those silos, those water silos wouldn't have been empty. If they really cared, they would have had the ability to jack up the water pressure, to put the fires out, or at least save some neighborhoods. They didn't care. They've been warned and warned and warned about this for decades. They never did it. In fact, they're cutting budgets into this wildfire. So you know what, Jamie, in your own unintentional way, your self-righteous narcissism, you're trying to take a shot at Israel. I know what you're doing. But you helped make an important point, and that is this. If you elect self-serving terrorists into power, you get what you voted for. You're left with apocalyptic scenes, streets, burned out cities. You give all of your money, all of your power away to people who have no intention of doing anything in your best interests. That's on you. When they're done with you, you're left with war zones like LA. When you're done with you, you're left with what looks like a third world country, and it truly does. Parts of America fall into unique categories like this. When you visit certain cities, when you walk around certain streets in our country, in certain cities, you can think to yourself, clearly, this can't be America. This can't be a street in the most powerful country on the planet, but it is. And you might see someone shooting drugs into their arm, a massive homeless encampment, drugstores with nearly all of their products locked up behind plastic or glass. We see images of streets owned by gangs, by shootings. The common thread is always one, and it's a color. The color's blue. The common thread in all of these third world American cities is always Democrat leadership. And what's crazy is they never, ever change. No matter how destructive their policies are, no matter how clearly destructive they are, they refuse to see outside of their own rear ends.
We're already organizing a Marshall Plan. We already have a team of looking and reimagining LA 2.0, and we're making sure everyone's included, not just the folks on the coast, people here that were ravaged by this disaster.
This is one of the most important things that's come out of this. This is that comment right there. We're already looking at a Marshall Plan. Let me explain this. This is very, very scary. Be afraid. Be very afraid, California. A Democrat utters the words Marshall Plan. Gavin wants you to think it means that he's going to somehow rebuild in a nice way that's best for the people. But that's not what it is. Democrats see tragedy as a way to spend more of your money and all of our money, like what they did with COVID. Never let a good crisis go to waste. That's a Democrat line. Came right from the Obama administration. It means a fancy spending bill with plenty of pork built into it. Money for transgender surgeries, paper straws, and half-built electric vehicle charging stations, all stuffed into a bill with a fancy fake name on it that sounds like you're going to help the people of California. I don't know, maybe something like California Rebuild Infrastructure or Inflation Reduction Act. We heard those, right? It also means that the evil little globalist soldier is going to rebuild it in their green agenda, climate change BS vision. You don't think all the rebuilds are going to have some sort of tie to some sort of green agenda, whether it's solar panels or electric vehicles? There's going to be ties to that. I guarantee it. There's going to be billions of dollars given to their green agenda pals, donors. I bet my bottom dollar, bet you dinner. It also means get ready for more massive spending and, for California, even higher taxes. Because everything they want to do, everything they want to spend more money on, including that climate crap and their sanctuary city nonsense costs a lot of money. They got to raise it somehow. They already went from a surplus to a massive deficit under Gavin Newsom. It's going to go deeper. The Marshall Plan, the real Marshall Plan, was about rebuilding Europe after World War II. It was about stopping the spread of communism, but it was a classic screw-up. There was overspending. We're wasting money on other countries rather than rebuilding our own country, building up our own defenses. And it meant inflation and higher taxes for Americans in the name of it all, right here at home, while we're trying to help someone else. Fires are still raging and more threatening to sweep in today. And Newsom's already drooling to rebuild L.A. in his globalist vision. He says he's mobilizing city officials, civic influencers, powerful business moguls, and labor unions to execute his vision. That's a disaster, folks. He says that the region will be completely reorganized, vowing to seek federal assistance. That means you and I are on the hook to help out L.A. You and I will be paying to rebuild Los Angeles, federal assistance. And by the way, Joe Biden already said they were going to do it. And let me just stop you for a second right here. So if Joe Biden says, don't worry, L.A., fires are still burning, we don't know what's going to be, the federal government will rebuild L.A. He said that. Joe said that already. That means we're on the hook for it, right? But who should be on the hook? The insurance companies, right? You mean those massive State Farm, Progressive, all these insurance companies who make hundreds of billions of dollars in profit, who are supposed to cover losses like that? They're not going to be on the hook for this money? Oh, no, you and I are. What does that mean? That means all those donor monies from those insurance companies, and they're the biggest donors to Democrats, believe me, you. The insurance companies are massive donors to Democrats. Joe Biden, Gavin Newsom, they're getting paid back with yours and my tax dollars. They said they're going to go ahead and reshape Los Angeles ahead of the Olympics. Ooh, this sounds more like a fantasy from the World Economic Forum than actually saving Americans. Again and again and again and again, Democrats learn nothing. And there's nothing more astounding than this. It's in their playbook over and over again. And yet it shocks me every single time they do it. Donald Trump hasn't been president for 4 years, and now somehow, you knew this was going to happen, they're going to blame Donald Trump for this. Watch.
Instead, Donald Trump and his allies are injecting half-truths, misinformation, and flat-out lies in some cases in order to score a version of political points, I suppose.
So you see, when the leftist machine uses the word misinformation, all that really means is that the facts don't suit their narrative. So everyone's a liar or a spreader of misinformation, but we've already lived through all of their lies and all of your lies, frankly, Jen Psaki from the briefing room under Barack Obama. We've watched you circle back through COVID, the Afghanistan withdrawal disaster, and more importantly, Joe Biden's clear dementia. Doesn't matter, though. The leftist machine is in crisis mode, and so the lies go on and on and on, unchecked by the willing legacy media.
Responding to Donald Trump's insults, we would spend another month. I'm very familiar with them. Every elected official that he disagrees with, very familiar with them.
We do know, though, from reporting here locally that one reservoir that serves the Palisades was not full.
And that's exactly what triggered my desire to get the investigation to understand what was happening with that local reservoir.
Yeah, okay, so within a single minute, Gavin Newsom lies, says the reservoirs were all full. And the reporter says, yeah, well, wait a minute, one of them wasn't full. And Newsom says, well, yeah, we're investigating that. Again, got caught in the lie and somehow tries to talk his way out of the lie again. Look, the bottom line is that fire is a condition of nature. That part we can do nothing about, but how we deal with it, what we do next time, that's the choice. The tragedy in Southern California is the result of decades of self-destructive policies made by stupid and useless politicians like Gavin Newsom. We can change the policies that got us into the mess by throwing out the politicians who made the policies and put them into law. Let's hope we do so before the next big fire, but it is California we're talking about, so I'm not holding my breath, nor should you. All right, well, let's do this. Let's play a little soundbite from, I don't know, we call him Sour Lemons, Don Lemon. Well, listen to this first.
These are the very same MAGA people who have called, and Donald Trump has helped promote, calling Michelle Obama a man. I'm not smiling in your face if you're calling my sister or my mother or my wife or girlfriend a man. You.
Donnie Lemon just can't take it. The humanity. Obama giggled with Trump for like 30 seconds, and Don Lemon loses his mind. By the way, I texted Don Lemon. I've known him a long time. Completely opposite ends of the spectrum, right? Texted him. I'm like, hey, let's do something together on the podcast. We'll broadcast at the same time. We're opposite. We'll have a debate. He wouldn't do it. He's like, what are we going to talk about? I go, really? What are we going to talk about? Everything. And, you know, he just walked around it. Don, the invitation stands. If you're too afraid to do it, I completely understand. Man up, Don. Bolling out.